a train spotter. Well, I think we might talk a bit more about train spotting. It will definitely relate to the theme, I promise. So I like nothing better than just to sit on the platform and watch the trains go by. It's a bit sad, but you know. So that's me in the background. Big family man, and I've got lots of support from my family. They might be joining me, hopefully, either live or on this recording. And thank you to Alison, who's been a great support. I think she is listening live, so hello. I'm a deputy head teacher. I've been a deputy head teacher for a long time. I think nearly 18 years deputy head teacher. People often ask me why you're not a head yet. And the answer's simple: they won't give me the job. So, but I've been in education for 23 years, almost, and I work at James Bateman Middle School, which is there's not that many middle schools around, but there's quite a few in Staffordshire. I think there's 13. I'm in North Staffordshire in a place called Knipersley. We're part of the Creative Learning Partnership Trust, who I want to thank as well, because I wanted to make sure they're absolutely fine with me doing this, and they are. So that's a little bit about me. I've deliberately handpicked my special guest tonight. He's a very, very close friend of mine. We started together as NQTs many years ago, 23 years ago. So I'm going to hand you over to my great friend David Anderson. So David, do you want to say a few? I want to say a few words, David, because David's not very good at a few words. A few words from you, David, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, Lee. And well done, mate. Well done for getting your own radio show. I want to come out with jokes with Smashing and Nicey, but half the listeners won't even. Some of my references now are to shows that I thought were on last year, and they're probably 30 years old now. I was really chuffed when you said that you got on this, because obviously your insight into education's mind-blowing. I love just being your pal and listening to you. But from the very first day you started your teaching, we started at the very first day in school together. The only thing, you were 27 and I was 40, I think, something like that. Yes, so I loved when we met the other day, because we meet regularly and we do a lot of writing together and thinking. And I loved you had Dad run a train spotter. And I thought, what would mine be? Mine would be Dad. I love Dad. It's the greatest job in the world. Mine would be Dad poet. And I'm debating between thinker or dreamer, and I don't know what the difference between a thinker or a dreamer is. So and that's the sort of things that keep us awake at night. They're the things we are.
I go with thinker. Yeah, I think definitely thinker.
Because I think when you're young, if you're older, your head's in the clouds. Fantastic, because you need your head in the clouds. Because Brunel had his head in the clouds. John Lennon had his head in the clouds. Van Gogh had his head in the clouds, and it's what you do with those thoughts. So a little bit about me. Is that what you want to do? Just get a little background, or
and all the things why I've asked you to be on this show and why we're going to be talking about well-being very soon. So
I'll go back to the beginning, because I think it fills the whole picture in, and later on we'll talk about insecurities. By the way, the Christmas jumpers was your own. Can we just say that?
Yeah, I know.
Now, if people are listening to this on catch up in the summer, it'll be great, because they're just hearing our voices. But if they watch it, two guys with Christmas jumpers on. I've even got little snowmen on my shirt. So I was the youngest of 5, Lee. 4 big sisters. I was the only boy and the youngest. Got 4 big sisters, and my mummy passed away 3 years ago. She was 94. And my lovely wife said, "You've been ruined all your life. You've been pampered by women all your life." And Paula said, "I've just taken over." But I was born in Scotland in 1963. My father was a coal miner. We came down to the Midlands, Staffordshire, in 1964. I was a product of the Catholic education system of the late 60s, early 70s. Didn't do too well at school. Bit of truancy, and I didn't come from a household of books or learning. I came from a household of quick talk and lyrics of songs, and how to stick up for you. There was a lot of banter, but there wasn't much, thematic learning, as we say. Left school with no qualifications. I had 2 CSE grade 4. did various jobs. I worked in a supermarket as a butcher. I worked at Armitage Shanks, the famous bathroom place. I was a coal miner. I was a butcher, a welder's mate. By the time I was 27, I was, going nowhere really. And then I got a job in a special school in London, school for children with autism and communicational difficulties. And then I learned to sign. That was one of my skills. Then I got a job working with adults with learning disabilities. Fast forward then till I'm in my early 30s, and a friend of mine, Tony, said, do us a favour, Dave, go away for 4 years, get a degree and come and teach in my school. And by this time I'd met Paula, and we only had Ryan at the time. And I came home and I said to Paula, I'm going to give my job up. I'm going to become a teacher. And she said, you can't spell. And since that, I'm 30 years later, I've written 5 books and I still can't spell. But I did an access course to higher education. I did a 3-year history degree. I did my teacher training. And then I taught for 18 years. For the last 5 years, I was a deputy head teacher. And then I left 5 years ago to fulfill my life stream of becoming a published poet and wellbeing champion. And that's me. Yeah.
Very simple. Very simple. See, I grew up in a house of books, but every single one was a railway book.
Yeah.
My dad had a big tall shelf of like a big bookcase. Yeah. An old school bookcase. They've got the glass doors on the front as well. And it's just picture books. Yeah. And I just, because there's loads of photography in there. And even
did you have the videos that look like books as well?
Yeah, man. The VHS things, they were good, weren't they? So I think my vision for this show, and I think that the show's going forward, is just they're listening in to me have a conversation with a special guest or special guests. Yeah. The reason, I mean, my big passion in education, I suppose, and my first passion is like the evidence and form side of things. But I know that can't work. We can't be real thinkers in education if we're not looking after ourselves. Absolutely. Or if we don't feel great at school. So I thought Christmas is a time when we're just shattered. Yeah. So one of my members of staff walked past my classroom today. He said, "You okay, Lee?" She says, "Yeah." Well, I said, "I was just rubbing my eyes like this because I was just so tired." It's just
you were crying.
I was crying. I couldn't. Yeah. I was trying to teach maths. That's how good I am. But it's just a lovely thing that somebody just popped their head around and said, "You okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." Just rubbing my eyes. But I think everything around education. So I'm gonna take it right down now to maybe the mood will lessen, and hopefully, David, throughout the show we can pick it back up. Yeah. But I just think, particularly at Christmas, there's things like school productions, it's discos, there's non-school uniform days, trips, assemblies for parents. We're decorating. At our school, they're all decorating the door. They have to decorate the door, and it's like a competition who has the best door. And some very inventive ones. I'll have to put some pictures on LinkedIn. But we're doing that. It's Christmas lunch, Christmas church services. We do some fundraising. It's a talent show. Head teacher runs a talent show. And I think secretly she thinks she's like an agent for the. We have got some incredibly talented students. We also do like a Key Stage 2 extravaganza, and parents come in. So there's loads and loads going on. But sometimes we forget actually we're still teaching. Yeah. We're still doing the leadership roles. We're still developing the curriculum. We're still doing the communication with parents. And I think also running in the background, it's at the end. It's the end of term, isn't it? So it's a data drop time. So there's that going on as well. The curriculum review has landed as well. There's a new Ofsted framework. Yeah. So all of that's going on. And then in the background, as I was doing a bit of read on the Wellbeing Index of the day as well. So, 76% of teachers report that they're stressed. This is the latest one. 36% believe they're at risk of being clinically depressed.
Frightening.
It is. 86% of school leaders, that's one of me, report being stressed. And 81% of teachers don't think there's enough time to do their jobs. Yeah. That wasn't a surprise to me. So there's so much going on. And what concerns me is, are we trying to do too much? Yeah. Is that part of the problem, do you think? Or, I mean, you've gone back to school, haven't you, recently? Yeah. You started doing a day. You missed it that much.
I made a comeback at 62.
Yeah. How's that gone? I think that's a good place to start, really.
It's greatly. Now, first of all, it was a dear friend. He should be watching tonight, Carl. He was my head teacher when I was a deputy head. And when you were saying that 81% of school leaders are really struggling, I was one of them. Hence the reason I'm a poet now, because it's you've got to have a certain skill set, and I just didn't have that skill set. And knowing when you've had enough, and I thought I can't do this anymore. But going back into school. So I've been Pep the Poet for the last 5 years. I've visited 190 different schools. I've delivered about 250 poetry workshops, wellbeing workshops, insect talks, and different things. And because of sadly the current climate, it's not as enrichment doesn't seem to be as popular as it was. You know, I don't know if that's the case or not. But anyway, I was a bit worried. I'm always riddled with financial insecurity as one of my many insecurities. But so I was a bit worried about that. But I was getting a bit bored. And I spoke to Carl, my friend, and I said, do you think I'd cut it in a secondary school? So it was a lovely school, St Edmunds in Wolverhampton. And I met the head teacher, and she was lovely. And she said, so I'm going back. I teach 1 day a week. I teach year 7 history. And it's fantastic. I love it, mate. It's really good. The staff have really welcomed me. The children, they're lovely as well. I love forming relationships, but one class, I'm only with them every 2 weeks. So, you know, the one class I probably only taught them 5 times or something since September. But, you know, it's brilliant. The only problem is, and it's not a problem, is me. It's because I feel really old. But I said to the head teacher, said, Dave, she says, anybody over 40, the children I think are old. He says, they don't differentiate between. But it's very much online. It's very, because I came from a primary setting. I've never been a secondary school teacher. So I was a primary school teacher. And it's been really, really good, mate. Everybody's looked after me. I said to one of the guys, obviously me being a supply teacher, he said, oh, Dave, you're not a supply teacher. You're a full-time teacher just on 1 day a week. So they're really welcoming, you know. I was included within, you know, the Secret Santa. It's been really good, mate. Really, really good. And I love the balance of doing 1 day a week in schools. And so 1 day I'm teaching the Saxons, and the next day I'm delivering the snowman rap to a reception class.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'm in an alternative to provision with some choice language, some from 14-year-olds. So it's beautiful, mate. I love it. I love it.
There's one word you've used a few times, actually, and I'll just to give a bit of background. Part of my role, I do quite a few lesson observations, you know, lesson visits, whatever you want to call them. People feel like they're observations, don't they? But no matter what. And even when I'm being observed myself, you still get that little bit of nerves. It's like a special visitor, isn't it? Or I think it's like it's Christmas, isn't it? So on the 25th of December, I'm cooking for lots and lots of people. It's the same house. I'm using the same oven I've used loads and loads of time before, but I'll be second guessing everything all the time. I'll make sure it's really, really tidy. I'll make sure I've even got top of the skirting board. Even they'll be clean. Everything will be clean. So, so I think there's always a little bit of nerves around that. But the question I get asked the most after a lesson observation is, was that okay?
Yeah.
Was that okay? Was that okay? And you use the word insecurity quite a lot.
Yeah.
So do you mind just telling us a little bit more what you mean? Yeah. Some of those insecurities.
I think it started from a child. I was baptized David Anderson. My dad was David Anderson. So to save any confusion, I was always known by my middle name. Now, obviously, if your middle name's Robert or Tony or Stephen, my middle name's Tracy. So and I come from a tough council estate. So when I was a little lad, I was a mummy's boy. I wasn't sporty. I wasn't a fighter. I was just a shy little mollycoddled 4 big sisters. I was a prince. I was bullied because you got a girl's name, and he said my real name is David, but no, it's not. And even when I went to secondary school, people said you changed your name, didn't you? And the last time I ever had it, I was in a cafe once, and this lady says, or you can settle an argument for me. I said, what's that? She says, what's your name? I said, David Anderson. No, your real name. I was 55. And I remember I said, I'm 55. I'm not playing this game anymore. Mm-hmm. So to me, your name is your handle. That's your identity. Even as a child, I didn't know what my identity was. And I think those insecurities came out. I love me mummy. She'd be in heaven now, shaking her fist. But she didn't speak to you for 10 years because you forgot to buy our Leo a card. And then one day she just started speaking to you again. And she's
that's because I gave her a lawnmower.
And then you give her a lawnmower, didn't you? Yeah. She loved after that. But I came up with a lot of mixed messages. My mother always said to me, self-praise is no praise. And to me, self-praise is every praise.
Yeah.
And even when I went to university, and a friend of mine said, which university did you go to? I said, Staffordshire. And he says, that was just an old polytechnic anyway.
Yeah.
So I didn't feel my degree was right. And it's a great university, Staffordshire University. But that's what he said. I did an access course to higher education. So I didn't get A-levels. I got equivalent of A-levels. So I've always felt never good enough. Mm. I've always felt, and I only found out a couple of years ago, it's called imposter syndrome. But all my life, I never felt good enough. The boy, I was slightly overweight. I wasn't a handsome little dude. There was nothing trendy about me that, I was just bland. But as Billy Connolly said, I was very beige. I was a beige person. But I don't think the one thing you've always said, the one thing you're not, David, is boring. Mm. And I remember I said to you once, do you ever keep in touch with any other people you work with? He said, no, David. He says, you're the only person I speak to. It's because you've got 17 personalities. Haven't you? It's like having a whole bunch of friends. And but I've always been riddled with those insecurities, never feeling good enough, always feeling that I was going to get caught out. To this day, I thought, why am I doing an interview on teachers radio, teacher talk radio?
And I found that throughout my career that teachers, they never feel that they're good enough. Lots of them perfectionists. Luckily, I've escaped that one, perfectionism, clearly. Yeah. But then they come to me and say, "Was that good enough?" And I want them to come to me and say, "That was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah. Did you like how I did this?" And that when I go and watch them, I just learn so much from them. They're incredible. I work with a great team, and I try and balance that insecurity with reassurance. So when I go in, I'm not going to go in and say you are level 1 or level 2, or it's. I think naturally, when we humans judge, don't they?
Yeah,
humans judge, and I can't escape that. But I just have to know that judgment won't help that person. Mm. So I think that's what leaders should be taking out. And I know I focus on lesson observation there. It just clicked in my head that we talk about well-being. I know this is about Christmas, or the title's well-being at Christmas, but well-being in general, and knowing that someone's going to come in your lesson, and they're going to learn from you, and they're also going to help you to get even better. Yeah. I think, if I give the first piece of advice on the night, that'd be it for school leaders, because there's a lot of insecurity in teaching.
But I think that you've mentioned there a couple of times, well-being. I think if you flip that on head, it's about being well. Mm-hmm. How do you keep yourself well? And I didn't keep myself well when I was at work, because I worried about everything. Parents' evening. Now, there's so much now, Lee, that I've learned since leaving school. I went back in the classroom. There's certain things I wouldn't allow, and there's certain things that would challenge. Parents that were quite domineering, and they came and asked for things that were unrealistic. And because I wanted to be, I was a perpetual people pleaser. I said that's a good bit of alliteration, is it? A perpetual
people pleaser, yeah.
But I know we want this off you, and I now with the confidence I've got now, so that's not possible. I'm sorry, because I've got 31 other children.
Yeah.
I've always said, but when we give talks to student teachers, the one thing I always wrap up with the 4 things is, not everybody in school is kind. And if you're in a school that everybody is kind, you're blessed, but not everybody in the school is kind. This is a generalization. Bullies are not confined to the playground. No is a complete sentence. And then
I love that one. You said that a lot to me.
It is, yeah. And then the fun was, especially for young teachers, always have an out plan for when you're 55. Have choices. My mate Michael and Bill talk about having a choice. And it is because if you're 55 and think, I could pack up tomorrow because I've got my pension coming in. I could go and, drive a van or do something that I want to do, or be out my coffee shop or whatever, because I've got a certain amount, my mortgage is finished and I've got a certain amount of money coming in. But I see so many people that, I'll be finished in 3 years' time, and they're so stressed, and they don't like the children don't like them. And I'm blessed in a way, because a lot of the schools that I go to value poetry, value well-being, value that enrichment. So I'm surrounded by lots of positive people. But I hear from different schools that, we'll talk about later on about drains and radiators, that, there's
go on.
So
I've got a big birthday coming up very soon. I feel like I've been celebrating it for about 3 weeks, or I think I haven't celebrated. I've done it for 3 weeks. So it's coming to 50, but the great thing about me and you, and we are friends, but we're so different, aren't we? We're so different. So you talk about having like an out plan at 55, and I'm going to hit 50 in 9 days.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've only just got started.
Yeah.
I've understood so much more over the last few years, through some really tough times myself. I've really grown as a person. I know that's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? But I think you've seen that. I mean, just, from 46 to 50, it feels like I've grown up.
But when I say to people, and I know I can make people laugh. I have the gift of making people laugh. And that's going back to my childhood and insecurities. Lots of things I couldn't do, but I can make people laugh. But when I say to people, I'm 62, I'll be 63 next August, and I'm not. It might sound like a comical line, but I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up. I've still got things I want to do. I mean, hang on, Dave, you're 4 years old, you should be retired. But I feel like a 22-year-old. But what you see is somebody's put me in this old man body, this suit. I mean, this grey hair and the old. That's not me.
And a crap jumper. But
that what you see on screen isn't me. I'm 22. But it's really hard. And when I go down the street, I see this old man and thought, who's he? Because people of my age are looking, aches and pains, and isn't the world a terrible place? And I think that's why I love working with children. That's why I love with young people, and just, what I mean?
I think where the one thing keeps me going is, and actually, Carl, who's your former head teacher, has put
he's watching tonight. He's just texting me.
He's put a comment on about, and who's it all truly for. So when teachers aren't being well, who suffers? Yeah, it's the students or the children, which whatever phrase you use. They're the ones that really suffer, aren't they? We need the teachers to be incredibly well.
When I mentioned Carl, and he is watching, but the point I want to make, there will be people watching this tonight or on the rerun that feel great, but there'll be people in there dreading going to school tomorrow that are completely washed out and thinking, I can't do this anymore, but I've got to do it because I've got a mortgage and I've got, and I got to a stage in my life, I've since found out that, I should have put a trigger on this at the beginning, really, but I'll just put a little trigger warning out there for people that are watching now. I might be mentioning suicide ideation, so if you don't want to listen to this for the next couple of minutes, just, zone out or whatever. But I got to the stage, I remember I said to Paula one day, I was so sad, and I thought, we were talking, somebody had passed away, and people said, what would ever happen if anything happened to you? And I says, if I ever went to sleep, Paul, and didn't wake up, don't be sad. She said, well, that's a terrible thing to say. I said, no, I love you. And because my faith always tells me I'll meet you again, I'll meet you again. But if I didn't wake up, I wouldn't be sad. She said, Dave, that's a terrible thing. I've since found out that's called suicide ideation, I believe. But I didn't want it to, but I just felt, I can't do this. And I said to her, I can't do this anymore. Whereas now I want to live till I'm 100 because I've got that much I want to do. I've got and seriously, I've got languages I want to learn. I've got instruments I want to learn. I've got places I want to visit. I've got schools I want to deliver workshops. There's children I want to make laugh. There's hundreds of things that I want to do. But I got to a really sad state. So if you're in school now, and there will be people out there that are really sad, first of all, no job's worth your life, or no job's worth, we said to call back suicide, it's a short-term solution to a long-term, no, is it a short, what's
I imagine short term, I don't know.
It's a short-term for a long-term solution. Somebody will tell us, if somebody can put in there, it's a short-term fix for a long-term solution or something like that. And but if you're struggling, be honest with people. Say to them, how are you doing? I'm fine. Fine stands for, a swear word, up. Insecure, neurotic and emotional.
Yeah.
And it's just, so when you're really, really struggling, be honest. Now, one thing, I was with Carl, and I remember he said, how you doing? And I was staring at a screen. I was doing a lesson on triangles. And I said, there was nothing there. I don't know. There was nothing I could make from it. And he came in and said, you all right? I said, I tell you what, Carl. I said, I'm a speeding ticket or a puncture away from a nervous breakdown. And he said, well, you need to go to the doctors then. You don't need to be here. Back in the March, I was telling him how sad I was. He says, why don't you go to the doctors? And he was telling me then, I said, no, I'm going to start a walking program. And we all laughed and I said, you were the only man that was going to walk your way out of depression. But I was in a really, really sad place. But I went on and on because I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want to be judged. And in the end, I was open and honest. And if you've got a head teacher that supports you, they're worth the weight in gold. That man quite literally saved my life. And I've mentioned him on here. But the reason I've mentioned him is because he quite literally saved my life. Yeah. Because I know there's teachers out there that have said they want to be off, and there's head teachers ringing them up, and But if you're really, really, really struggling, be open and honest. Look after yourself, and that's it's a bit deep, but we'll line it up in a minute. But there's
just similar thread, Dave. But was it about 2.5 years ago? I've just completed my MBA. I'm really, really proud of that. But 2.5 years, I started as a postgraduate diploma in leadership and management, and I had some difficult times in my life. Really tricky times. I
lived every minute of it.
I know you did. And I remember I've got you have a tutor. It was like. And so I'm working full time. I'm trying to do this level 7 postgraduate diploma, and I was just falling behind. And you've got like your online portal where you have to log all your work, and I was like months and months behind. And so my first answer to that was just to not log in, and just sort of pretend it's not happening. I think a lot of, we do that, don't we? I think a lot of teachers do that. Definitely, yeah. It's not happening. Eventually, after being chased up by my tutor a lot, who he's on LinkedIn, Dane Carton. He was incredible. And in the end, I just said, Dane, I really want to do this. One thing about me, Dave, is I've got a lot of resilience, and I really want to do it, but I'm miles behind it. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So he said, right, okay, let's not worry. Right, and he just put a plan in place for me, because he knows the system.
You were open and honest, and if people know that, they can help, can't they? Yeah.
And
if you fine. Yeah.
And I had about 3 essays due, and I said, Dane, I just need an extension. I just no way I can do this.
Yeah.
He said, and then he showed me how you apply for an extension. I got the extension, because that time I just need to say, I need some help. And it's probably one of the first times I've properly asked for help in my entire career. And it's always the first piece of advice I give to what used to be called NQTs, now ECTs. I always say to ask for help. Don't let things drift. Because they soon do. They really.
And I think 95% of the time, people are genuinely interested in people. People will help. You know what I mean?
And they will help because they love helping as well. And particularly in the school, if someone comes to me and says, Lee, I'm really, really struggling with this, I'm really, really struggling with that, and you can give them some sort of solution or just help them. And, it feels great. It feels amazing.
I was talking to a friend of mine today, David, and I was on about a guy called David Hine, a great guy. And he said to me, we were talking about insecurities now. I says, "Have you got insecurities like I have?" He said, "Dave, everybody's got insecurities. I've never known anybody like you're just open and you tell everybody." And I was just thinking a minute ago, if some of the viewers think, "Hang on, why is he drinking cider on the thing?" Another, by this, it's Iron Brew. And the reason I'm saying that, mate, is because especially one of the coping mechanisms to, sometimes when you're struggling, some of the coping mechanisms is to find alternatives, is to drink or to do things. And I know for a fact, and everybody, I tell everybody I meet, I've been a recovering alcoholic for the last 26 years. Because when I was younger, I had these insecurities, and the one thing that masked it all is if I just drank to oblivion. And I played rugby and I just drank, and I was never was never drinking vodka in the morning. I never went to rehab, but every time I went out, I became drink dependent. But every time I had to get drunk because it was that oblivion. It just blanked out this nonsense. And I know some people say to me, like, I'm having a bottle of wine a night. Some teachers are going, and that's their coping mechanism. Like, I'm having a bottle of wine a night, or at least, Monday to Friday, I'm going through 3 bottles of wine. And loads of people will say to me, "Am I an alcoholic?" And I think, but there's a whole, that's another podcast, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I always think, are you an alcoholic? There's 2 things that the definition of alcoholic in AA is we became to believe that we were powerless over alcohol and our lives were unmanageable. So once you've had one, can you stop regularly? And if you can, that's great. And the second one, a friend of mine, David, always says, when you have a drink, he says, if I have a drink, I because he's an alcoholic, he says, the reason I'm an alcoholic, when I drink, I can't guarantee my behavior. And that's for certain people. If you think and that's not violence. Are you become very melancholy? Are you becoming, when you have a drink, does it alter your personality?
Yeah.
Either way. But I know there's quite a few people, especially leading up to Christmas, work. And there will be, mate, over the next few weeks, there will be people going to work stews and falling out with people and telling the head teacher what you all think about them. And I speak on behalf of everybody else. But that, because that was me. But
I could tell you that was good acting. It wasn't even acting, really.
That was me. But, so if I am sipping, I'm sipping Iron Brew because it's been 26 years since I drank. So.
I just get the brew. One of the things you said earlier, you talked about. What I want to ask, you've been to hundreds of schools.
Yeah.
And I'm one of the things we really looked at when I did my study in leadership and management, the culture.
Yeah.
So when you go into different schools, how quickly do you feel the culture? I mean, that's a really fluffy question.
As soon as you get in the door.
There.
And I tell you, the one person that sets it for me is the admin person.
Yeah.
And I've been to schools in London. I'm based in central England, for those, Staffordshire. So I'm south of Stoke-on-Trent, north of Birmingham, and I've been to London. I've done Milton Keynes that way on, Luton. I've been to Manchester, Cheshire, all the West Midlands. Never done any in the southeast yet or the northeast. But as soon as you walk in the door, "Oh, hello, Pep." As soon as you go in, "Oh, hello, Pep. You're Pep the poet," and she's, "We've been expecting you." "Oh, how are you doing? How was your journey?"
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll go and you say, "Morning," and have you got your DBS? You think, right. And there's
culture's everywhere. It isn't just in the classroom.
Yeah. And it's only happened in a couple of schools. Normally, the head teacher, even when they're really busy, really busy, mate. Because I'm not that important. That's one thing I've learned in life, and we've all said that I'm not that important. But sometimes the head says, "Hi, David. Thanks for coming. I'm the head teacher, Lee Pace. I'm sorry, admissions meetings or whatever, governor, but it's good to see you. Thanks very much." Sometimes I've been in head teacher, and obviously they've okayed for me to come in, but they've looked at me and they know who, and I can tell they walk past me. They might be stressed to the high heavens, but they haven't even got time to acknowledge the visitor.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, "Oh, you need to acknowledge me," but that is the culture of the school. But 9 times out of 10 is as soon as you go in, it's the I always think the office staff. I always look after the office staff, the kitchen staff, and the caretaker. especially the bursary because they pay me. But they're the ones that that they're really important for setting the standards of the school.
See, one thing we talk about probably more than anything in our trust is kindness.
Yeah.
Well, I had a great conversation last week. We had a deputy head teachers network, and we talked quite a lot about kindness, and it sounds quite easy. It's not easy at Christmas sometimes if someone's annoyed you. You know, you still got to be kind to them. It's one of the hardest things, I think, to be all the time. Yeah. It's one thing I try to be. I try to be kind all the time. I get frustrated with teachers, but and running alongside that understanding. If someone's there's always a reason why someone's behaving in a particular way.
Yeah,
always.
I've got a friend in AA, John. One of my sponsors, he's a great lad, and he always says to me, "You don't have to like everybody. You just have to love them."
Yeah,
and I've always said to Paula, and as you know, as Saint Paula, my beautiful wife, and I always said, what is it you found about what is it you liked about me? And she always says, "You're kind and you make me laugh." And the two things the one thing that hopefully defines me, and the one thing, if you really want to upset me, just call me unkind. Yeah. And you're kind, Carl. And the people I talk about we'll talk about later, my CPU. My close protection unit. I've got about 9 people. I'll mention them later because and that's gonna, I'll encourage people to develop their CPU, their close protection unit. And I think
if you think about the opposite of kindness, unkindness, that breaks trust, and that just shatters the culture. Then, doesn't it? That if there's no trust there, it's so important.
And I'm well aware, mate. Some people are unkind because a friend of mine, Paul, he was our parish priest when I worked at school. He always said, hurt people. And I think that's really profound because if you've been hurt in the past, well, you know, you tend to... What was the story? It was a beautiful story. A guy, apparently, I said the other day, he's in New York. A guy got in a taxi and he jumped in the taxi. The taxi driver was going on chatting to him. And as he's talking on, this big garbage truck, or this big truck came out and the guy had to brake. He pulled in front of the taxi. And the guy put his hand up. The truck driver got out, shouted at the taxi driver, swore at him, banged his bonnet and got back in the truck and drove off. And the guy just put his hand up. And the guy at the back said, he was in the wrong there. Why didn't you stick up for yourself? He said, no, what it is, in life, see that garbage truck, people are like garbage trucks. And they're full of, toxic emotions. They're full of nastiness. They're full of bitterness. And it's too much for them. And what they have to do, they have to go around and tip it onto people to make them. He said, and once you get an argument with them, they just tip that toxic waste onto you. He says, so when you just put your hand up, that's just, don't get in the ring. I don't want to fight with you. Yeah. A friend of mine, Holly, said to me once, you get invited to lots of arguments, but you don't have to attend. And I love that one, mate. So
and I think in schools at Christmas, the tension's high because there's so much going on. I mean, what I try and work on as a leader as well is all those things I listed at Christmas are happening. And I think they're going to happen anyway. So I think partly be well planned for them. Yeah. They're things you don't have an influence over. And we had a bit of a heated debate about some of the things that happen. And I think, well, sometimes I can be a bit of a Grinch, right? Miserable git sometimes. And the pressure productions put on people, the pressure assemblies put on people, and I always question, and it's not about me being right or wrong. I always think, is it worth it? Who's it for? Yeah. But actually, they're going to happen anyway, And it's really easy for me to say, you do a nativity because parents expected it. I expected it when my daughter was 4. Yeah, because she played the role as a cow, and I loved it, and she played Mary. Yeah, and it was incredible, and I loved it. So, and parents are the stakeholders, aren't they? They're a big part of the school. So I think,
like we said, you and I are polar opposites. Because the one thing in our life, and I don't know if you're an atheist, but I am. I could wear a big badge saying "I heart Jesus." I went to Lourdes once, and there was a youth group, and it was a badge, and it was going around with "I heart Jesus." My mate, she goes, "Take that off." But I have got a God of my. I've got a God of my own understanding. I was born up a Christian and I was brought up a Catholic. But the relationship I've got now, and I teach in a Catholic school now. I was a leader in a Catholic school, and I love my. But my son said to me once, he said, I love being a Catholic, Dad, but it's just a religion full of threats, isn't it? I said, no. And anyway, I went to my parish priest at the time, Father Peter, and I said, it's no, Dave. And I was 46 when this happened. It was 16 years ago. And he said, Dave, we've got a beautiful, gentle God that loves us unconditionally. He's never going to strike us down. Oh, that's the language of your mother, and we've got and I've got a God of my own understanding. Now, for our viewers here, for those that don't know, an atheist is a complete non-believer. I'm from the I Heart Jesus, and then in the middle it's or whatever faith you've got. And that's my particular faith. Or you're in the middle. If you're an agnostic, you're still making your mind up. I always think, I don't think you're a completely 100% card-carrying atheist. Because you've always said to me, what I love about you, Anderson, you question everything. Yeah. I don't take anything verbatim. He says, but you were doing an assembly once there about the wedding feast at Cana, and I was explaining it to you. I said what it was, and Jesus was there, and had this wine, and they brought and you started smiling. I said, what are you smiling at? He says, there's not a part of you, there's not a single ounce of you doesn't believe this story, is it? I said, no, because it happened. And when I talk about my God of my own understanding, I've got a beautiful, gentle God. And for some people out there that have got a God, speak to God, speak to you, get to your faith, you know what I mean? And but again,
so I just go train spotting, or I watch Professor Brian Cox. But that's what helps me.
But that's why I've always said that Christmas, the first 1, 2, 3. Hang on, let me just spell it. Yeah, the first 6 letters of Christmas is Christ, and to me it's so there's things like nativity plays, and I'm with you, mate. It's to celebrate the birth of Jesus. Sometimes when there's a spaceman turns up there, there's a crocodile or something. We had a good debate about this on Saturday. We said we weren't going to mention it, but assemblies and collective worship, and I think there's all learning in that. But again, going back to knows a complete sentence, if you're a year 1 reception teacher and people said, I want to put on the greatest nativity that ever happens, I can do that. But what about the phonics? What about the maths? Yeah. What about this? What about all of you a key stage 2 and we want you to do a great Cole, he does some fantastic productions, and we'd like you to do a great Christmas production. Yeah, but what about the history? What about the PE? Because you've only got a certain amount of time. But that's where you can have a dialogue between your head teacher.
Yeah, and I think the staff as well, making sure the staff are all that decision making. And one of the things I on the flip side, because all those things I listed, assemblies of parents are amazing. Parents love coming in, and we're so well supported. It's incredible. But actually, you don't want to arrive at December or mid-November when all this starts absolutely shattered then. Yeah. So I think I think going back to, my original point was, what are the controllables? Yeah. What can we control and what can't we control? All these things happen at Christmas are going to happen probably. Yeah. I think with the expectation, and I don't have an issue with expectation, but what thing we do have control over things like planning, how much we do. We have control over things like marking. Our marking policy isn't a marking policy. Actually, it's a feedback policy, because actually the most important feedback happens with the student in the classroom at the time that they were learning.
Well, we were talking on Saturday morning, and I was quite shocked because I've not worked full time in schools for 5 years, and it's changed a lot. And we were laughing. Remember when we first started, we had to hand plans in every day. We did literacy strategy. Remember the 4-part? Yeah. And he said we had to have daily plans. I said, remember we used to have to handwrite them. I said to you, can you imagine schools now that they had to have the planning in every day? And you said, no, that's still an expectation for certain schools. Yeah. And what was the analogy you gave the other day about? It was a great one. You were on about something. You said that. I forget. It was that good. You said that there's no expectation. You said, like, I don't have to plan this. Was it your birthday party or something? What was it?
No, it's me foot operation.
That was it. The guy with the marking on your foot.
So, I had a foot operation last year. It was only a fairly basic operation, but I remember again. It's only you went in for the day, Friday the 13th of December 2024. Friday the 13th. I have an operation Friday the 13th. But he came in. He came in, and I was in the room, and he just came in. He said, "Which foot is it?" I had something called a lipoma in my foot, at the bottom of my foot, which isn't serious, but it's just a pain, quite literally.
My tonsils are coming out.
Yeah, and he said, "Which foot is that?" I said, "So it's that foot." And all he did is get his pen out and just did that, and he said, "Yeah, see you in about 2 hours."
Yeah,
and that was it. That was pretty much his planning. And even on the letter, it's two.
Do you have any key questions there or outcomes?
He had no differentiation. He had nothing. And actually, the same thing happened. I remember my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer 2019, I think. And I remember her plan for the operation, and it was one sentence, handwritten as well. Actually, I don't know whether it had to go to anyone, but my point, I think, with things like planning, it isn't what you write down; it's the systems that you have. Yeah, and that spans everything. That all down to the CPD. So, do you have a really good shared mental model of what a lesson looks like? And you all talk about, you all develop. Teachers should have their own pedagogy curriculum. So, what does that tell them? It tells them we're all on the same track. Yeah. We care about you so much that we're going to give you this great CPD. And
because the nurses, when they see that mark, first of all, they're to check, is it the right foot?
Yeah,
I was joking there. Was it on? And I know sometimes it does go wrong, but is it the right foot? Is it? And they'll have done all the checks. The man will have done, or the woman, the surgeon, they will have done all the. It was a man on that because it was a man that operated on your foot.
Yeah, Dr. Reese. Dr. Reese at Northfield.
But he's done lots, and you assume he's got. You assume he's qualified, but you do. But always,
I hope so.
But what? But why is it? Is it? When you, I always think, when you go to, I've got the mechanical aptitude of a tin duck, and but if I went into the garage, I'm going on Wednesday to get my tyres done, and Ant said to me, like, it's your brake pads. I don't argue, I just get them done. The man said, but sometimes with some parents as well, I think little Johnny needs to read more at home. Well, I disagree with you. For some people, teachers are the only profession I know professionally. They're challenged all the time. And I think it's because everybody's been to school. And when you're little, you played at schools. It's very rare you played at plumbers or played at surgeons, but people played at school, didn't they? Pretending they were teachers and that. But everybody's got an opinion on education.
Because they've all been through school, though, haven't they? We've all been, vast majority have been through school, so we think we know how it works.
I remember once I asked a teacher about something, a parent, it was, we need to read more. And where did you come up? And where did this idea come from? I said, 5 years at university, a year's access course, 3 years at university, a 5 years study and a postgraduate. That's where it came from. And at the time, 9 years of working every day in a classroom. I'm an expert at what I do. That's where it's come from.
Yeah.
But
I think that's what it is. The higher the expertise, you shouldn't need. You talked about key questions, didn't you?
Yeah.
You should be an expert at asking questions. I should trust you as a leader to be able to ask them really, really well.
And that's what. And going back to our well-being, that's it. If you're in a supportive school like that, and people will say, "But I'm not in a supportive school." And my answer will get. You don't. You have to be there because you're contractually obliged, but you're not. It's a friend of mine, Olive. She's passed away. She was beautiful once, and she was always beautiful. But she said once, she used to her job. She used to look after the lads that used to do community service on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And one got in trouble. He said, "It wasn't my fault, Olive. I had no choice." And she was Irish. She went, "It's the only choice you've ever got in life. The only thing we ever have to do in life is die. Everything else is optional."
Yeah.
And I've always, and sometimes I'm in a job they don't understand. Get another job, and it's not that easy. It is that easy because I did it. I was on a job at 52 grand a year, and I had a mortgage. And I thought, it's killing me. I can't do it anymore. So I got a different job.
You have to be quite honest with yourself sometimes, don't you?
You have to, mate. Honestly, and if your house is, you get a smaller house and you go on less holidays, but the price of your mental health and the price of being well, mate, it's priceless. Yeah. It's really priceless. But again, and for young teachers that listen, when you're going for a job, have a look at don't worry about the children, because the children, I always think children and the great little learners, have a look at the staff room, go and have a cup of tea with people, and just thinking, have a look at the head teacher, you know. And I can honestly say, mate, in the schools I've been to, I don't see many negative leaders in school, but I think it's because the ones that buy me in value what I offer and value the well-being and that. But there are, I can imagine the schools out there that
I think leaders set the tone, don't they?
Yeah. So,
who we are, we set the tone, and it goes back to those things that we have in place. And you know, what I love at our school, we've got a wellbeing committee. They get a bit. I think sometimes on LinkedIn or X, they say, "Oh, the wellbeing committees are useless. What's the point in having a free cake every month or something like that?" But I just think sometimes it's the thought that goes behind it.
Yeah.
You know, they do. You know, we have a birthday card on our birthdays, and they do events like quizzes. It's very, very little things, but actually it means they care, or we care, because the wellbeing committee isn't made up of any senior leaders. It's made up of staff who just wanted to do it. And we have a shout out board. Sometimes it might be the little things, and it might seem insignificant. Yeah. But I had a shout out, and I was quite pleased because of, you know, just something that I do each week. Because last year I was told off for not doing it, quite rightly as well. Yeah. Sorry about that, Mrs. Cook. So, you know, it's just it's nice to be acknowledged, just acknowledging that how hard they work.
And I think what we said before, we spoke on Saturday. You know, there's a great film, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I don't like that word ugly, but because I don't think anybody's ugly, or some people. I think somebody can have ugly views, maybe. But the good, the bad.
I thought we were going to have the good, the bad, and the helpful.
The good, the bad, and the helpful. And I
changed it to.
In your life, in schools, what are the good things that you do and that you need to do because it's good for you and good for those around you? I'm not saying what the bad things. What are the things that my friend Dave always talks about? What's the things that don't serve you well?
Yeah.
Or serve others well?
Or don't serve the students.
Or don't serve the children, even more important.
Think about marking. And another thing about, it's just my opinion, handing, you know, I know a lot of schools, they're planning in at the beginning of the week to the head teacher. I don't know who's that serving, and I don't know whether how that helps the trust or the culture. Just my opinion.
Yeah. But I know the good, the bad, and the helpful.
Give us a good, Dave. Give us a good. Something you practice every day that you think, teachers should do that.
Well, there's hundreds of them, Lee. 100. And my I think you should.
One or two's fine, because we're on 50. We've only got 5 minutes left.
All right. My sponsor should be watching this. A guy called Alex. He's beautiful. There's his anonymity out the window. He always is. We Glaswegian. I love him. He always said to me, I said, somebody's talking about me. Nobody talks about you because you're not that important. And but he also says, don't get in the ring. People don't get in the ring because people want to fight you, or they want to wind you up. But once you're in the ring, fight them. Don't fight them. Don't get in the ring. That's one. Another one I always ask myself, oh, I'm worried about tomorrow. I'm worried about this. My car's going in for an MOT next year. I said, what day is it today? It's the 8th of December. And is it happening today? The question I ask myself, my friend Jane that lives in Spain, her and her husband Andy always taught this. My boys, is it happening today? Our Jodie should be down in Weston-super-Mare watching this at the moment. She always says to me, is it happening today? And if it's not happening today, we don't worry about it. And it's not a cop-out. It's just, again, this wouldn't probably work for you, but it does for me. And for those that haven't got a God and that have got a higher power or of a spiritual nature, I read the other week, I was really worrying, and I thought, I've got no faith in my higher power, because if I've got a faith in my higher power, why am I still worrying? And they said, David, angst and anxiety and fear live within the body. Your faith lives within your spirit. And in your life, you've got a spiritual being, I believe, and there's a survival being. And sometimes when you're worrying, but the survival being, the only thing it can deal with is prediction, scanning, judging, where the spiritual deals with love and hope. And what happens, the survival one just wants to keep you well. And all it's doing is shouting louder because it doesn't want you. So all you say to this, listen, I know you're trying to look after me. Thank you for looking after me, but God and I have got this one. So, and all I do is, One of the things I did the other day was when I'm feeling really stressed, and for anybody a takeaway from this, is just feel your chest and just say, any God that you've got or a higher power, God, I am here, you are here, and in this moment we are safe. And that's what I do. I just bring myself into the here and now. I'll finish on this one because we have got 2 minutes left. Drains and radiators. People fall into two categories. They're either a drain, they drain the lifeblood out of you, they drain the positivity out of you, or they radiate kindness and love. And you can tell the drains because they'll say, how are you, Lee? Oh, Lee, I've had a terrible day. Oh, and the drain. And what I tried to do, Lee, I tried to go around and fix them all. But in the end, I fell in one. You know what I mean? And the secret is they don't want to be fixed because that's where they get the self-esteem from. That's where they get their attention from. And what's the old classic? If you're in a room full of 4 entrepreneurs, you become the 5th one. If you're in the room full of 4 moaners, you become the 5th one. And that's for staff rooms. I mean, a lot of the staff rooms I go are really positive, but I have been in some toxic staff rooms. Not in gladly not in the last 5 years or when I was working, but there are some places that, take yourself out of there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So
one thing I can't say about my school, I love our briefings. They always make us really smile.
And I've been blessed to come to your school.
They end up with a lot of laughter, which is really, really good. So, but thank you very much, Dave. You've been incredible.
We could have fiddled.
You've made me feel quite safe tonight as well. It's my first show, and I just want to finish with this. I was watching a podcast the other day. I think it must have been the Diary with the CEO podcast.
Yeah,
and it's with Jimmy Carr, and quite a controversial comedian, isn't it? And then he was asked, "What's the meaning of life?" And he said 5 words, and he said, "Enjoying the passage of time."
Yeah,
we've got to really enjoy it. We've got to, teachers go into teaching because they really love what they're doing, and if they're not loving what they're doing, I think perhaps that they need to find the right school. Yeah. Then but you've talked about that a little bit, haven't you?
Look at the passion. I was on the way down to London last week. There's a girl got on the train. She says, "You're Mr. Anderson. You taught me, Tony," and I think she's watching tonight. You, Mr. Pace, both taught me. And
oh yeah, you sent me a picture. And did you know that? She looked completely different. But thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you if you're listening now, and thank you if you're listening later as well. So till the next time, see you.
Just be brilliant.
Thank you.
Outstanding, a world-class vision, world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.